First of all, I think your analysis was very straight line. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing ducks when you are stealing funds.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go down that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD.
I got
like
that.
No, calm down.
I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
Come on, Lou Taylor. That's good. I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective,
Yes,
but
the
an
Guyanese critic.
erratic
Mikhail
detective is Mikhail Rodriguez.
Why an African slap an Indian? Why a man and slap a woman? Look, how you deal with that? You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
Gildarie, you apologizing for something you think I did is wrong. I don't want you to do that, and you should not have done that. You're watching the Gildarie Freddie Kissoon show. We come to you Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8:30. This is a live recording. It is not transmitted by Zoom. We're live in the studio, and if you take your smartphone or your smart TV, go to Guyanese Critic Facebook page, TBN or YouTube, you will see us in the studio live. Our guest this evening has been with us a year ago. So we're thankful to have him back. We'd like to know what has happened with him the past year, and so we will ask that. Of course, Leonard Gildarie is in the studio with us. And so we go right into the program because I don't think we will get in the hour when you know who we have. This is a man who is the chairman of one of Guyana's most important state sector body, and he's one of Guyana's enduring lawyers, and then he is a member of parliament. So good night to Leonard, and good evening to our guests, the Honourable Member of Parliament and Attorney at Law and Chairman of the Airport Board, Sanjeev Datadin. Sanjeev, it's always nice to be in your presence.
Good to be here.
Sanjeev, it's been a year since you've been here. What has happened with in your personal life? I ask that because since you've been here, Gildarie went to New York at the City Hall and got married. So you could probably give Gildarie some lectures on marriage. But I understand each time I see you, I always ask you about that pretty wife of yours. Now I understand there's a second kid and maybe a third on the way. You want to comment? Large families are happy families.
Good night, Freddie. Good night, Gildarie. Good night to all your viewers. Yes, in the last year, the most remarkable thing personally is what has happened is we have a new addition to my family, my wife and I. We have Sawyer, my son, but we now have Lily, my daughter.
That's Lily?
Lily.
Yeah, and the boy is?
Sawyer.
Sawyer.
As a Tom Sawyer.
As in Tom Sawyer.
As in Tom Sawyer.
Yeah. Okay. So she's a month old today.
Yes, congratulations.
A baby, you're changing diapers steady.
Still doing that. Not complaining. It's the new norm, and I'm enjoying it.
Talking about the new norm, yeah. Well, you know, you say once in a blue moon, Freddie Kissoon would offer the guests and his co-hosts an opportunity to buy a burger for them. But once in a blue moon, tonight happens to be the blue moon, and everybody is seeing blue tonight as when they said it's going to happen again in 23rd 7. Yeah, next time that is going to happen 23rd 7, everybody who got a camera and a phone taking that opportunity. I tried it with my cheap little smartphone and it couldn't come out. So I don't know how they got it, whether they stole it for somebody. Whatever is the case, we have a number of things before we head straight in.
This is the blue moon you were taking a picture of?
I tried it, but it didn't come out. So
I think isn't just the blue moon, is what, 2 full moons in 1 month?
Yes, it says the next time that's going to happen is 20 years. But it's very close, and there were some concerns that the tides are going to be high in some places, especially in Florida with the hurricane that's happening there right now.
Anybody got hurt for you in the hurricane? Guyanese live all over Florida.
No, knock wood, as far as I know, no one has. But I've been looking at on the radio, driving over here, it seems to be quite severe.
Yeah, there's a lot of rains going on here, but we also talk about expectations versus reality, and we're going to come to that in a short while. The president, one of the things that the president has said in engagements with the media is that he's not prepared to bow down before the opposition leader. The question was posed to him whether he should not be doing something a little more in order to improve the relationships with the opposition leader. And the president made it clear. I've reached across the floor many times, tried shaking his hand. He said, what else do you want me to do? So that is a serious thing, because when you have opposition leaders and you have them representing, as we said, thousands and thousands of people, that number can either go up and down at any point in time. You can always argue that. But when you represent such a large constituency and you cannot represent them on a national at the national front, and there's so many things that you could agree with the government on these issues, or you could represent the government, represent the people at the governmental level, at the parliament, on national levels, and you could say to the government, look, we could work on a number of things. That is something that is very, very sad, and the president is making it clear. It's up to the opposition leader now. So let's jump right into it. Council, you in charge, you're a chairperson of the CGIA, Cherry Dragon International Airport, and an issue came up as recently as with this week here. A lady complained that she's overseas based on Switzerland or somewhere, that terrible service from some employees there, and she spoke about her experience. It sparked a lot of comments as to how bad this country is. Expectations versus reality. I want you to put that in context, that it's only a couple of years now that we've started realizing the big way money is, and we cannot compare ourselves to the big airports in London, and so at the same time we cannot expect that we're going to live with bad customer service. Your comments, sir?
Well, I mean, Gildarie, the first thing that you said, the first comment you made, which was about the president and what the president says. I'm the least of the Mohicans. It's not me to judge the president, but I will say this. Personally, I fully support, because I understand what the president is saying. You are leader of the opposition, so you have a constituency. The president is the elected president of the country. So he also has a responsibility. But what else can be done? If you are going to be petty, not wanting to shake people's hands, not wanting to speak to people, having preconditions, then it's just my personal view that His Excellency should get along with the job that he has. He's been elected to do, which is governing. That's his task. That's his obligation, and he's doing it. You can't want to be a leader and behave in the manner the leader of the opposition is. We've all seen the president meets everybody, goes everywhere, stays for hours to make everybody who wants a picture gets a picture. There's something to be done when there are difficult times when he's out in interior locations. He has no qualms helping to fetch boxes, helping to move things. He has no qualms. He doesn't think twice about it. So what else do you want a man who is clearly shown, look, I am working, I am fighting, I am trying. He reaches out his hand. You think not shaking his hand makes you somehow superior. This is nonsense. Utter nonsense.
The president of the day, whether you like
the president of the country has the job to govern. He has made every effort. In my mind, I could tell you this: he's gone further than I would. I mean, and not that I'm comparing myself to His Excellency, but he's done everything he can. So he has to get on with the job that he's been elected to do. He has to get on with what he's doing, and he has to keep doing what he's doing, because we could see all that is happening. Now, about the second thing that you raised, which is the airport issue. Now, Mr. Gildarie, I will tell you this. I would be the first person to say to you, we are a work in progress. We try every day. We try constantly to lift our services. Our simple aim is to improve service to the point where people find the experience at the airport pleasant. But remember, there are going to be good days, there are going to be bad days. We've recently had the issue over the weekend, a horrible thing. What happened basically is the pipes blew out. Some of the pipes run close to the road, and there are some issues with that. Heavier trucks now, sand trucks, they're a little bit of issue. We had a problem when those main pipes go, the cisterns and the water storage and the pump to the airport, we don't get water. We worked as fast as we could. There were comments, there was newspapers yesterday about how bad it was. We acknowledge that. We are in the process of fixing. Today, we had a little hiccup in the process of fixing. Again, the road kind of gave away a little bit. The pipes were in trouble. We were able to fix that. This is the airport staff was able to quickly react to it. We are in the process. We understand that it's an airport. There are people there. They would want to wash their hands, use the washroom. We need water. So we are working towards it. But we can't wave a wand and fix all of these things. So this is the process. For the incident that was about the treatment, we see people, and we see lots of people, a former journalist, I believe, from Berbice, who makes comments about the papers that you have to fill out before.
Leon Switzerland? Yes,
I don't remember his name. That might be it. But he complains about the paper that you have to fill out and the space. Now, when you leave Guyana, everybody, you've got to fill out that piece of
immigration
paper,
form, right?
Immigration form.
Which happens in every other country.
We might not like it, but it's the law, the regulations. We have to do it. We try to make that as easy as we can. We try to make sure the airlines have them on board for incoming. We try to make sure that you get it if you don't get it from your travel agent, because we do give it to travel agents too. We try to make sure that when you come to the check-in counter, you get it, or the bag drop counter, you get it. So that you could, while they're checking you in, you can do what you need to do and smoothly go. If you have to go, we have space. We have limited space that you could stand and write. We appreciate all of that. But it's the law. Until we change the law to allow digital records, the airport and the immigration and customs have to keep paper records. Now, there is an argument that we should move towards that. And yes, that is an active consideration that is on the way, that we will keep digital records. But digital records don't mean simply having a computer. The records then have to be on a computer, a system, the servers, the storage has to be secure, the power reliable, the functioning reliable. Those are things. So complaining about people asking you about that is really unfair. Even the people who are there, they're trying their best they have to do it though. They have to ask those questions. They have to see that the form is filled up. About going to buy the burger, we investigated that. I responded publicly about it. It's unfortunate. So this is the Lotus restaurant across the road. Midday, they have a meal readily available. In Guyana, we would refer to that as a special. So you could go in and you could have gotten cook-up or chow mein and baked chicken right away. Because they understand speed is an issue. But if you want a burger, if you want any of the other things, there's prep time. Mm-hmm. She apparently didn't want... The people said to her, we understand you say you're in a rush. This is what it is. She behaved in a way that they were giving her stale food and they were doing this, but she didn't want to wait for the prep time for the burger. You go to immigration, Ezra is a specific system, like how Guyanese need to have a visa to go to the United States. European countries mainly and other countries, they have to have something called Ezra, meaning they are allowed visa-free travel to the country, but they have to have an Ezra declaration, which they do in advance of getting to the airport. They have to ask. She says it's not asked for in the US. They weren't asked when they were flying into the US. But you have to realize the world is in geographical zones. We are in a different zone in the Caribbean. The less developed, so we got harder, we got different conditions. They won't impose those conditions perhaps on European countries. And I don't mean to be pejorative about it, but that's the reality. So the lady checking her in at the airline counter has to see it. It's like you going there and being asked to show your visa, and you say, why you need to see my visa?
So it's part of what you're saying there. It's part of the regulation. They're obligated to check it at the airport.
We cannot allow you to board without it.
That's correct.
Now think of it as a visa, because that's the equivalent. This is for people who are allowed visa-free travel. The Ezra is like an authenticating thing to your passport and your travel. You want to quarrel that they don't do that when you reach in the United States. I don't mean to be facetious, but there's a simple reason they don't need it to be in the United States, because as a passport holder, you're entitled to be in the United States without a visa. So they rarely check on the Ezra unless they have a problem with the passport. They believe it's forged or something like that. The next thing she complained about is that she was searched. Now, TSA rules every flight that goes to the United States. I don't want to get into a lot of the security, nor do I want to get into the demographics as I understand it. To be honest to both of you, it has been told, it has been said to me, I don't want to know the details either. I don't want to know security matters. Because if something were to go on, I don't want to say, well, you know the process.
But the rules are very clear.
The rules are 10% of the passengers. Now, take it for granted that it's a rough thing intended to be a fair sample of the plane. So it has to do with male, female, black, brown. These are all factors that they consider in who they're searching. Now, for example, I will say as if they've searched a number of men who had traveled, and she's traveling with her husband and her 2 sons. They haven't searched as many women, and they're doing their demographic, then they might choose female. I don't know. But there is a system. Now, what we do have, because of issues of security, there's a logbook at it. An old-fashioned logbook that you write the name down of every passenger that you touch, because that's the rule, right? You complain that there was a complaint that after you finish checking in, you have to take your bag to the scanner. There's a reason for that. Our rules are very strict. No one else can touch your bag. From the time they hand you the boarding pass, no one else should touch your property. Now, if you're traveling with your wife or you're traveling with your family, you could help them. That's your business. But you should not permit, and strictly speaking, the rule is no one but you, from the time you get your boarding pass, should touch your luggage. So you got to get it to the scanner. You take it to the scanner. You have to wait while it's scanned to see that it goes through the scanner. So that if, God forbid, something untoward were there, you wouldn't say that, oh, they took your bag in a back room and they did something. You have to see it go through the scanner. Because when it goes through the scanner, there's a picture taken that is stored.
I'd recognize any.
Right? So if they tell you later on that this was in your bag or that was in your bag, you could tell them, bring that picture, because that's when I last saw my bag. And if that picture doesn't reflect what it is, then you could say, I didn't do anything. So this is for your own safety, that this is how it happens. I don't want to to go to explain it because that's not a wise thing to do. But then you get to the other complaint that the young lady wrote her name on her glove. This was because there are cameras everywhere in the airport. Take that for granted. And so you have a passenger who is being complaining, antagonistic to what's going on. So there is another another officer who is writing the name of the person she has just searched into the book. So the lady, in an effort to bring the situation to not get worse, having her stand up waiting, wrote her name in the glove so that when that young lady was finished writing, she would sit and write the name in the logbook because she was the person who did the further screening. That was the reason. That was also told to her, that we are putting your name here so we could transfer it to the book. Now, whether that is strictly within the protocol, that's a matter for the agencies. But it's something that I can understand. If you have a situation where somebody is being frustrating and they want to move on, you try to move them on as quickly as you can. Now, that entire incident, when I had just gotten back to Guyana, I got a message at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. that this has been posted, this is what it is. Freddie, this is where it comes in. You're on the night shift with the new baby, so I'm there with the new baby. The phone's going ping, ping, ping. I'm looking at it. I said, please look into it. So I waited for us to get what we did. We respond. But complaints that there's not enough seating, Leonard, the reality is we went from a certain number of flights per week, to doing those number of flights per day. Do we need more space? Yes, we do. How do we get more space? We are being innovative. There's some new areas opening up. We're trying to figure out how to manage. It is when we have 3 and 4 flights landing at the same time, the arrival halls are packed. We know that one of the things that used to be there is that it's hot, it's sweaty. We've tried to improve airflow. We've tried to set the thermostats down more. We're trying to figure it out. But we are on a growth trajectory that no one could have known. And we are on it now, we're in it. But I agree, and I would be the first to say we need to do a little better and improve. But we can't go from here to here. We've got to go incrementally, whereby staff understand, whereby people understand, and whereby expectations.
So bottom line at the end of the day, before Freddie comes in here, is that we are governed, or we have signed on to regulations, and we have to adhere to those regulations. And at the same time, reality versus expectation, that you can't jump from here to here, from here to
Leonard,
here.
some of the things I will tell you, like TSA comes down from time to time, and they do an audit. They check. They try to put things to see if you find it. These tests go on. Without getting into details, we're doing exceedingly well.
I know that we have our ratings have increased.
Our ratings are getting better. We're not where we want it, but it's moving. The other thing, Freddie, is about this whole thing is TSA have the planes that go directly and land in the United States. We have to ensure that we obey their rules. When they're flying from New York to Georgetown, we have our rules too, Mm-hmm. And they have to obey our rules too. So that's how it works.
A work in progress. Freddie Kissoon?
In some countries, they have Minister of Aviation. Maybe that's his next portfolio.
No, Minister of Public Works. My subject minister is...
You have two subjects.
I have two. But the airport comes under Minister Edgel.
Yeah.
Minister Indar is obviously always available and always.
Well, I think in Malaysia they have a Minister of Aviation. But let us travel from Tamari to Carmichael Street, which is where the AG chambers are. The AG said he welcomed the news, the revelation, the declaration, the publication that judges will now have to respond to an application. That is no longer you wake up one morning and 3 judges have appointed. There will be a process of advertisement and the judges will have to apply. Your comments?
Freddie,
The lawyers will have to apply, the applicants will have to apply.
if I want to say the truth of what I want to say, I might get into trouble. But I say
Well,
this.
you're not afraid of getting into trouble.
I am not, but I am 100% behind what the Attorney General, what Anil has said is important. Now, Freddie, there's been a system in place that you go to the Judicial Service Commission, you apply. You don't know if they like you, they don't like you, they say yes, they say no, they say maybe. No idea. Candidates are waiting. I'm not saying that you have to tell everybody yes. But if you tell somebody no, write them a letter. We have received your application. We don't find favor with it. 2 lines. Common courtesy. The Judicial Service Commission is a public body. It must function like every public body for the benefit of the public. Transparency demands that every decision they make must be reasonable. And every decision they make, they must have reasons. This is where it comes from. I know you would know. Reasonable decisions, the words are all linked. That's why you must have reasons. Now, when you have reasons, the decision could be examined if it's reasonable, meaning the decision is examined to see whether it has valid reasons. But that process must take place because we don't know who they're rejecting. We don't know who has applied. It shouldn't be a secret. You want to be a judge in this country, you have the business of the whole nation. Why I shouldn't know who are the applicants? If Leonard go to apply, and I think that Leonard is unsuitable, I should be able to write, Dear Mr. Judicial Service Commission, I don't think that Leonard should be a judge. But you don't want to make it a circus. So how do you stop it? Judicial Service Commission sits and deliberates. 5 people there. The decision of the Judicial Service Commission is as follows. Simple. The next thing that I saw as soon as the commission became active is they must advertise widely, not only in Guyana, but at a minimum in Guyana, but they must advertise everywhere that people who want to be judges here should apply. We never know when they're considering applications. All that we hear is 3 judges are appointed. That's all we hear. I've been a lawyer 26 years. This is what I hear.
Which brings us to the next natural questions. Is there a clamoring for applications by lawyers to become magistrates and judges?
Well, you want the good lawyers to be magistrates and judges. The challenge is the good lawyers might not be willing to give up their practice because it's an income issue. But judges and magistrates are not paid particularly badly in Guyana. You know, if you look around the Caribbean, look at what they're paid.
But are they applying? Is there a big? Do you believe that in the legal profession right now that a lot of people who got pretty good law firms and so that they're willing to leave those practices to become a judge?
You see, people, once the judiciary moves upward, once there's confidence in the judiciary, then people who are in private practice will get to the age of 50 and thereabouts and will not want the rigors of being in practice all the time, and they would be amenable to going to the bench. They're all of those sorts of situations. But the main thing about it, the main thing about being a judge is you got to apply, but we should know who are the people that have applied. I will say, speaking personally, and I don't want to taint anything the Attorney General has said, but there have been people appointed judges in this country that I or no one else knew applied, or that they were even practicing in Guyana, or they even had anything to do with Guyana.
What you're saying there was mind-blowing, Counsel. Let me tell you why.
That's an enormous revelation.
But look, listen to me. You cannot have a constitutional body like that. The tail is wagging the dog there. This in essence what is being said here. You cannot have a constitutional body who decides whenever it is, and there's no checks and balances.
So here's what should happen. Simple solution. And the Attorney General has hit the nail on the head. First, advertise everywhere. So when you're going to appoint judges, don't sit by yourselves and go pick the people that you want. I told you you're going to get me in trouble, Freddie. But don't sit by yourselves and pick who you think is the appropriate candidate. Or don't sit on the commission and invite applications from who you think is suitable. The days for that are gone. What you should do is you should put an ad in the papers and you should say everybody wants to be a judge or a magistrate or a court of appeal judge. Please apply. You take all the applications. You should, as a public body, say, issue a little press release. You could call Leonard, he's very adept at it. You could say, we've received 10 applications for magistrate, 20 for judges, 5 for the Court of Appeal. We are going to start deliberating. You can expect to hear from us 4 to 5 days, 6, whatever.
But the name should be made public, so I could say John Jones.
I am totally in favor of the names being made public.
So I could say I knew John Jones at UG and what John Jones did.
Well, you don't want it to become a circus, right? That everybody could go write a letter against you, because that would be. But you have
should be some knowledge of who the society should have some knowledge of.
And the people that you are rejecting, for me, and I say this speaking for myself, the people that are being rejected is far more important publicly for transparency than those that you have accepted.
Yeah.
Far more important. The reason being, when you go and you reject Tom Jones and you pick John Bon Jovi, the public must be able to say, well, who is Tom Jones? Or the public might be able to say, but Tom Jones is Bon Jovi, I think, would be the better. Now, you're not going to please everybody, but you're going to be accountable. So you could say, we felt this way versus we felt this way. Now, we've all seen those election cases that they go on. That was probably when the nation paid the most attention to courts. And one of the things was, you heard comments. The most common comment that I am aware of is that Douglas Mendez is exceptional. There is nobody that I heard that said a negative that Douglas Mendez is not an exceptional lawyer. And he was impressive. But there were other lawyers there who people thought were unimpressive, or they were not impressed by what they were saying. So when you publish your list and Douglas Mendez had applied, and you reject Douglas Mendez, and you pick one of the other lawyers, the public can see, what is this commission doing? So that is why it is important that who you reject. Because if you don't lay it out who you reject, it will be a whisper mill as it is now. You know, that fella applied and they rejected him, or this fella didn't apply. That's what happens. It is important. I fully support what the Attorney General has said, but he has bigger obligations than I do. So I could give I have a little bit more of what I feel the views are, but the way to transparency in any issue where public bodies are concerned is they must tell you, we considered this, we rejected it.
I know, but you will guide me now, if it's a regulation or if it's a law. But I know when a judge retires and have decisions pending that have not given decisions, whether written or oral, it affects their pension. There
was one incident that I knew of where a judge retired and there were issues about his pension. But in the end, I think it was resolved where he got his pension.
But if the law, the regulation is that your pension will be affected if you retired and you have outstanding decisions to make.
No, I hope the next time that Anil is here, you encourage him. That might be a good rule. But you can't do that. There's a problem because the day that your tenure as a judge ends,
You gotta go.
you can't give a decision after that. There have been cases.
People judges retiring and they have outstanding decisions. I think there's a regulation that they have to complete these decisions.
No, the Constitution guarantees security at tenure. So it means you're free from interference from anybody. Now, I tell you what has been happening. We have judges who have retired. These are the problems. They have part-heard cases. The ones that they sit for days and days, and it's like a dating website because all you get is a date. The trial is not finished. The litigants have waited 5, sometimes 10 years. The case is going on. No decision is given because the trial is not finished.
And the retirement.
Hundreds. The judge retires and leaves the bench. Those matters, Freddie, have to go de novo. They have to start over. Those people have to find the money to pay the lawyers, the witnesses, everything starts over.
That's unconscionable.
Well, hold on.
That's not the worst part.
All over the world, or there's only in Guyana?
Everywhere. But no judge, as far as I'm aware, anywhere else in the world, will have hundreds of outstanding decisions. You want that to happen. But let me finish. This is not the worst of it. This is not the worst of it, Freddie. There are then cases which have concluded and the judge has not given a decision. So the trial is finished, 8 years, judge has given no decision, he's retired. Those two have to go de novo. Start from the beginning. Not finished yet. Then there are decisions that the trial is finished, the judge has given his decision, but he's written no reasons. So when you appeal, the appellate court have no reasons to look at. Most of those have to go back from the beginning.
So is there any
that is completely unacceptable.
Is there any leg room in the law that allows?
Then the other part is judges retire and their minute books go missing, so you can't get the notes of evidence that went on in the trial.
But wouldn't you?
What happens? Start again.
But
know why we have a backlog?
Any?
Because there have been judges that have retired that have had hundreds of outstanding decisions. Hundreds. 800 in one case, more than 1,000 in another, 600 in another. I'm not going to get into names, but I'm telling you, Freddie, go check, go do research. You will see judges in Guyana.
We talking about Trinidad?
I can't conceive of it.
I also say that the system as it is now is far better than it was with the new rules than the old. We don't have that many gaps, meaning so much outstanding things. But we haven't fixed what happened with the old rules fully yet. And one of the things this is why we need more judges, so that the judges that are presently there can meet the obligations. You know, I believe it was Charles Ramson Sr., as Attorney General, who had passed a law. Do you know in Guyana that when a trial is complete, a judge has to give his decision within 6 weeks or 3 months?
Yeah.
And judges don't seem to feel that this law is strict in that they should do it. You know, I've heard comments from judges in the Caribbean Court of Justice about judges. There's a law that says what you must do. You want litigants to obey the law and the rules of court and everything, but you don't deliver your decisions in the time
And for the
period
sake
required.
of arguments, when it comes to the quota, how many judges are we supposed to have in Guyana? How many do we actually have?
Oh, we don't.
High Court and Court of Appeal.
Yes.
Well,
let's look at percentage.
Okay, so the quotas have been 12 in the High Court and Court of Appeal, I think 5. The quotas have moved. Recently in Parliament, the Court of Appeal has gone to 7 so that we could have 2 panels, 7 or 9, and we're past 20 for High Court judges, which are hopefully, we've passed the law, we have a JSC, hopefully we get the applications in, hopefully we get more judges. And I can tell you honestly, Freddie, right now, there are judges that they can't breathe the amount of work they have to do. And the obligations on them, I mean, for me, I'm telling you, I think it's onerous. I think it's very onerous. The incidences that I spoke of before were of the older guard under the older rules, but I think it's right now it's fairly tough on judges. What it requires is more resources, but it also requires a little bit more of efficiency, and hopefully the courts are going to go fully digital soon, meaning everything will be digitized. So the process will be quicker. These are all things that are coming on.
I'm going to try to put you in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But you're a smart lawyer. You're a smart lawyer. I'm asking you.
I might need bail when I leave.
I'm asking you, do you think, beginning with 3 sets of cases, the appointment of a GCOM chairman without resorting to the Carter formula, the no confidence motion, and the elections cases, do you think Guyanese jurisprudence was embarrassed when those cases, when the CCJ heard some of those cases, of which I would think the one that stirred people's is that half of 65 is 34. Do you think?
Well, I don't think our jurisprudence wasn't harmed. Our jurisprudence in the end stood. I mean, honestly speaking, I was involved in a lot of that. And I will tell you, the CCJ made some scathing remarks about all of it.
Yeah.
But a lot of that had to do with the lawyers who would take these frivolous points. And a lot of it had to do with members of the judiciary who were adjudicating on it. In the end, our law stood strong. Our act was good enough. You know, during the election time, I was told by one of the observers, I don't want to name or anything, and he made a comment about when the litigation was concluded and things had changed. We were in the middle of COVID, and I happened to have spoken to him. And he said, Guyana has got a garrison voting system, meaning there are so many checks and balances. The paper, the color of the paper, everything, that it's almost impossible to get past that. and he was sure that as long as they followed the trail of evidence, we'd have the right result, and it was the right result that we obtained. But our jurisprudence stood strong. They said that you should display the statement of polls when you're counting. They didn't. They used a spreadsheet. They said that under the law, they said that you cannot do this. The judge, the Chief Justice, brought Mr. Mingo in the court and said, you cannot use a spreadsheet. He walked across the road and he continued. So it wasn't the jurisprudence that was failing. It was the people who would, in the face of absolute rulings, then there were difficulties, admittedly in the Court of Appeal, that accepted arguments that are preposterous.
I read a CCJ judge said, and he was being cynical. It's like he was, okay, let me tell you what he was equivalent
He's
to.
saying the half of 65 requires no great judicial consideration.
Yeah, he made, I think he made a mockery again. He said, man, don't bring, it's like this.
So
man,
the judiciary,
don't bring the nonsense in.
The judiciary, they were members and officers of the judiciary that I thought proved to be an embarrassment. But the law and the jurisprudence. No, I've said it plenty, man. I've said it a lot.
What I want to ask you as time going, you have to guide us now as a lawyer. The Commission of Inquiry, the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the March 2020 election is finished. Mm-hmm. Can you use the findings of that in prosecuting? Can you cite it as evidence in the prosecution of people charged for election malpractice?
No. Well, I think I haven't looked carefully at the terms of reference, but from what I saw of the terms of reference is what will guide the Commission of Inquiry. But the findings of any court of law must come from the sitting officers, which is why when a judge don't finish the case, another judge can't finish it off. That case starts over. So the findings of the Commission of Inquiry are, of course, findings of what every commission would do. It is a presidential commission, and the president usually is advised about what happens. But the commission of the courts have still got to take the evidence and adjudicate.
What is your take? Ms. Roxanne Myers refused to testify at the Commission of Inquiry, but the commissioners allowed the lawyers to question the people who give evidence about her conduct. Something was wrong there. I mean,
no. So commissions of inquiries, their rules are sui generis, meaning the commission makes the rules in advance. Now there is a body of I did quite a few commissions in the Eastern Caribbean, and there is a body that if you are not going to give evidence, then you shouldn't be allowed to cross-examine. But I am of the view
that happened in the Commission of Inquiry.
No, but in my view, the people who are served what we refer to as Scarman letters. Lord Scarman wrote a judgment that everybody who is likely to be in jeopardy by the findings of the inquiry should be served a Scarman letter, meaning they should be advised that they should get counsel and they should appear with counsel. Once those people who are let's call them interested persons, I think they must have the right to remain silent, which they can exercise. And as every litigant in a criminal court is allowed, he can remain silent, but his lawyer can cross-examine the witnesses. So I don't think, I mean, in the commissions that I did in the Eastern Caribbean, I thought that notwithstanding not giving evidence, your lawyers should be allowed to cross-examine because you have the right to remain silent. Now, in the commission that went on, I thought it was a matter for the lawyer to advise the person, don't go and give any evidence, or don't give evidence here. There might be a situation where, let us say, Leonard was accused or you were accused, and you figure, I'll go and tell you what I got to do. So you'll shoot your shot because you might have nothing to be concerned about. But people who things might concern, it might be wise for them to hold their peace.
Can you speak to our viewers about something Mr. Ralph Karan, Senior Counsel, said? The Attorney General and another Senior Counsel disagreed. Mr. Ram Karan said, right in that chair where you're sitting, that Mr. Dharam Lal could still have been charged and placed before the court, notwithstanding that there was not a virtual complainant and evidence. Mr. Nandalal disagreed. Mr. Nandalal said, how the case is going to proceed? You don't have a virtual complainant. You don't have a statement of evidence. These are two senior...
Well, the thing is very simple, Freddie. Here's how it works. When a complaint is made, innocent or otherwise, let us say Leonard was to go and complain that the mat is gray, and he wants to make a complaint over that. He will go, police will tell him, well, we don't see that that's any issue. So, but Leonard is the complainant, and he drives the investigation. Had he not complained that the mat is gray, the police would never have investigated. The police would never have gotten any evidence or got anything to present in a court. So the driving force would be the virtual complainant. It's called virtual complainant because there must be a complaint. There must be an incident that is brought to the police attention. Now, you hear it every day, you see it on television, in the movies, that if somebody chooses not to pursue, you can't do anything. Look, for example, in everyday life. God forbid you get into a fender bender with a man on the road. You jam cars. All right, you're all right. Let it go. Or you might say, here, now, I'll repair your car. Or he might say, I'll repair your car. Now, what happened there, were it a complaint that went to the police, would be a traffic offense. But nobody complained about it. So I cannot imagine, I can't fathom a way that the process would go forward without the virtual complainant. Because where would be your evidence and what have you investigated? There would have to be a very unusual circumstance for something like that to take place.
And are you aware, as a lawyer, of any other case in Guyana that would have gone forward?
Without a virtual complainant? No, not in my 26 years. Absolutely none that I am aware of. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine, or I can't understand procedurally, what are you investigating? What would be, who would you get the information from?
Well, I think it's Mr. Nandlal would have said it's hearsay.
This is unusual.
No, but you can't investigate that.
Right.
Otherwise, every time a policeman goes into a bar and he hears that the West Indies are useless, he would go and investigate it. But it wouldn't make sense.
We have a strange country. A newspaper, a privately owned newspaper, gave front page coverage to the Guyana Human Rights Association demanding that Dharam Lal be charged, even though there was no virtual complainant and no evidence. That is what Guyana has come
So there is a fundamental rule. There's a fundamental rule because people misunderstand or perhaps lack confidence in the judicial system. But the fundamental rule is, you see it in movies, you read about it in the press every day, where there's a lot of hearsay and there's a lot of talk about things and people say a lot of things. and they believe that this man is guilty of what they're investigating, but they have no evidence, and they always decide not to charge. Because the adage is true, it is better that 10,000 guilty men go free than one innocent man get jailed. The reason is, if you were going to be tried without any evidence, then let's forget the court system. We have some oracle somewhere who says you, not you, not
Freddie
you.
Kissoon.
What would happen? The criminal system, like every court system, is driven by evidence. But where is that evidence going to come from? And what is the complaint? The complaint is, as it relates to Mr. Dharamlal, what would the complaint be? What exactly is the complaint? If you go and complain on behalf of Gildarie that X happened to Gildarie, and Gildarie doesn't ever come forward, how is the police going to get the details of what happens to Gildarie? Everything you say is hearsay. They can't act on it. They can't lead it in a court. So what would be? So people have a perception, this is what social media has done to the world. Everybody believes that they know.
I know what you're coming to.
And the worst thing about it is, every view that is said, they believe, because people like it and share, that they're somehow an authority on what they speak of. And the negative part about that, the downside, the obvious downside of that is, it's simply who's shouting loudest. It has nothing to do with sense. People make up rules that exist. I see our Facebook lawyers, they're very, very eloquent. But there's no law to support 90% of what they say.
The GHRA say, charge the man. Charge them. There's no virtual complaint.
But charge him
stop
with...
and give that front page coverage. Oh my
No,
God.
but what the problem was...
This is Guyana.
No, but Freddie, the thing was, charge him with what?
Gildarie.
Well, there's a lot of, if any reporters would have been looking at this show tonight, some major revelations here. I don't think people would have been paying very close attention to the court. It's very complex, but my mind is not really at ease right now with those kind of things that's happening there, because when you have cases dragging on and then you have to go, another judge is listening.
But isn't that a denial of basic human rights?
Yeah.
You're supposed to go in court, get you...
But Freddie, look, I want to draw a parallel here. I walk into the bank and it bothers me that you would go to the bank and see two tellers, and then you see the news report comes out, they make $2 billion profit in the first quarter. I'm wondering, how much does it take to pay an extra teller or a counter clerk? At the same time, the government or the authorities, and you talk about the Judicial Service Commission, they have an obligation to make sure that people get the service that they deserve. And if you can't pull out the stop and change the laws accordingly to accommodate that, then you're not doing anything.
No, we don't. No, but Leonard, we don't need to change the laws, right? The Judicial Service Commission supervises every judicial officer. When you know that there are certain judges, certain decisions outstanding, you should have the officer appear to the commission and go. I know in other parts of the Caribbean, judges are sent on leave until they've written all their decisions. They come back. It's an embarrassing thing, so they don't want to be in that position.
Our operator signal.
I have one solution just before you go, Freddie, which is some of the judges who are guilty of not doing the job, they should be named. Simple as that.
I want to
So I can tell you this, Leonard. There is a report that is done, I believe it's every quarter.
And that gives you an indication
of all the things that judges...
Say no more. Freddie Kissoon will walk to whoever it is and get it tomorrow.
Our operator signal, our time has come. Do you want to address our views at anything that's on your mind, including how the latest baby is taken away from your law practice?
Relevant.
No. I want to say, Freddie, look, people say a lot of things about what they want to be in life and what they hope to be.
You want to be that.
really want to be the best father. I hope.
How much children you want? You have two.
I have two. I'm content.
How much you gone in for?
I'm content with two. I
That's
want
it?
to be. My aim is
Large
to be the
families are
most
happy
remarkable
families.
How did you come
father.
up with the word gone in?
I want to be the
That's
most. I want to be
conversation.
known as a remarkable father. Whatever else I do is lucky.
So
But-
you give viewers your word. You're not going to force those kids to be lawyers.
One of them wants to be a lawyer already.
Through your influence.
No, that has more to do with his mother than me. But he's 4. He'll change 5,000 times before he gets to the place he wants.
So you still haven't told us, as a human, how many children do you want? This is nothing to do with lawyer and the parliamentarian and the man in
Freddie, I love children, but I think 2 is where it to be.
So that's it then. You're admitting that there
I'm
won't
an
be a
old-
third and a fourth in the family.
Not likely. I'm an old man now, but 2 I'm content.
What's all about you? Sanjeev Datadin, what's all about you? Look, it's always enjoyable to have you
Pleasure.
here.
Always a pleasure. Leonard, it's a pleasure to see you.
That's it. You were looking at Sanjeev Datadin, chairman of the airport, long-standing lawyer of 26 years, and member of parliament. It's always interesting talking to Sanjeev. I really do like Sanjeev. Sanjeev, thanks for being here. Thanks
My
for watching
pleasure.
us. We'll be here on Friday.